Hello, my name is Juber Ayala, and I am the archivist for the New Jersey Hispanic Research and Information Center at the Newark Public Library. Thank you for joining me for this presentation, where I'll discuss the development of the HRIC and its archival component, the Puerto Rican Community Archives. In the early 1980s, Dr. Olga J. Wagenheim, Professor Emerita of History at Rutgers Newark, began realizing that people's histories are being lost. So she decided to record the histories of a small Puerto Rican community she had heard about in Dover, New Jersey. Based off these interviews, Dr. Wagenheim wrote an article titled From Aguada to Dover: Puerto Ricans Rebuild Their World in Morris County, New Jersey. This article was later published as a chapter in the book The Puerto Rican Diaspora: Historical Perspectives, edited by Carmen Teresa Whalen and Victor Vasquez Hernandez. Dr. Wagenheim later designed classes that would have students document their own community by training them to conduct oral histories and assigning them to record family members, community leaders, and the staff of nonprofit organizations. The students would then transcribe the interviews and write a summary of their overall experience. Most of these interview transcripts and recordings are available at the HRIC. In 1999, Dr. Wagenheim received an invitation from the Newark Public Library's Director of Multilingual Collections, Ingrid Betancourt, to moderate a panel discussion on the 25th anniversary of the 1974 Puerto Rican riots that occurred in Branchbrook Park, Newark, New Jersey. Dr. Wagenheim tried to research the topic, but only found a folder of newspaper clippings about it. As a result of this non-existent archival experience, they began discussions about the necessity and desire to create a safe haven for this community's history before it continues to be lost. The Newark Public Library has served and enriched the lives of diverse populations of Newark for over 100 years, so it was a great place to serve as a safe haven for the Puerto Rican community's records. Today, the Newark Public Library is one of the most comprehensive public libraries in New Jersey, providing a wide range of programs and services for patrons across the entire state. The Newark Public Library also provides the most extensive concentration of Hispanic programming by a non-Hispanic organization in the state. All programs are presented free of charge and are open to the general public. It was decided to focus Hispanic heritage celebrations and exhibits on the various Latino communities of New Jersey, so the public could learn about distinct Latino nationality groups and cultures. Here are photos from 2019's vibrant celebration of Andean culture in New Jersey. For over 4 decades, the Newark Public Library has made a specific effort to identify and respond to the needs of the Latino community. In the late 1970s, the library recruited 3 Latino librarians, started to create new outreach programs designed to connect with the Latino populations, and expanded its Spanish language collections and resources. In the late 1980s, the library made a substantial commitment to the growing Latino populations of the city and the state with the creation of Sala Hispanoamericana as an educational, informational, and cultural resource for recent Latino immigrants. Later in 2001, a successful partnership with community members was created to establish the HRIC. Around the time the HRIC was established, Hispanics accounted for 13% of the state's population. Puerto Ricans accounted for 4.5%. By 2010, Hispanics accounted for 18% of the state's population. Newark had the state's largest Hispanic population with 93,746 Hispanics, which is approximately 34% of the city's population. It was estimated that the Hispanic population will account for almost a quarter of the population by 2020. We'll have to wait for the results of this year's census to see if this prediction came to fruition. If you haven't completed the 2020 census yet, please respond online, by telephone, or by completing and returning the questionnaire mailed to your household to get yourself counted. You can also contact the Newark Library if you need further assistance completing the census. The rapid growth of the Latino community in New Jersey resulted in an urgent need to provide a broad range of services, such as library, educational, and cultural resources, reference and research services, and the preservation of New Jersey's Latino community history. In 2002, the New Jersey Hispanic Research and Information Center was formally established by Dr. Olga J. Wagenheim and Ingrid Betancourt. It consists of three components: the Sala Hispanoamericana, the Hispanic Reference Collection, and the Puerto Rican Community Archives. In the 1980s, the Newark Public Library had a Spanish language collection, established a Spanish hotline, and offered free programs to the public. By creating La Sala Hispanoamericana in 1989, it served as a gateway to the library for the Spanish-dominant patron. La Sala houses one of the largest collections of Spanish-language materials in public libraries in New Jersey. La Sala was later absorbed into the HRIC, making it the oldest component. The Hispanic Reference Collection is the second component of the HRIC. It is a bilingual reference collection of materials on the Hispanic populations in New Jersey. It consists of the Latino Oral History Collection, which we've commissioned oral histories on 4 different topics. Abstracts and clips for the Latino life stories and the Justice Project are available online at the link provided. To access the full transcripts, please contact us for further information. The reference collection also consists of local newspapers and publication of a demographic profile on Cubans in New Jersey. The third component of the HRIC is the Puerto Rican Community Archives. Its mission is to identify, collect, process, preserve, and make available for research materials that will document the history and legacy of the Puerto Rican communities in New Jersey. Early on, Dr. Wagenheim formed the Friends of the HRIC Organizing Committee, a group of volunteers who had an interest in seeing the Puerto Rican Community Archives come to fruition. The organizing committee raised funds to hire someone who was bilingual, willing and able to travel throughout the state, and had a master's degree in library science. Fortunately, they couldn't find anyone who met that criteria, so they hired Yesenia Lopez, a former student of Dr. Wagenheim. Although she didn't have a master's degree, Yesenia was bilingual and already comfortable with traveling throughout New Jersey. Most importantly, it was her passion to see this archive of her community come to fruition. Yesenia was sent to train for the position with archivists Nelida Perez and Pedro Juan Hernandez at the Center for Puerto Rican Studies in Hunter College. The center formally established in archives in 1989 to document the Puerto Rican diaspora in New York and later throughout the United States. At the center, Yesenia learned how to conduct a historical records survey for the Puerto Rican communities in New Jersey. The survey aimed to identify if the community did indeed have historical records, determine the dates of those records, their collection size and condition, as well as what types of materials existed, and if their holder was interested in donating the materials if an archive was created. Yesenia met with organization leaders and individuals to identify and inventory all archival material relating to Puerto Rican communities in New Jersey. Asked most often during the survey was, "What types of documents are you looking for?" Here is a sample of documents with historical value that convey information about past human activity. Yesenia conducted the survey in 3 phases over a 4-year period. Her survey findings include identifying over 2,000 cubic feet of materials, dating from 1896 to the early 2000s, with a wide range of subject matter and record types in all conditions. The amount of records by cubic feet and by county that were identified during the survey are shown in this map. The larger numbers don't necessarily reflect a larger community presence than others. They actually reflect where organizations that were surveyed had large amounts of organizational records that were never discarded. There were a total of 26 organizations and 51 individuals surveyed. Only a few individuals were not interested in donating their collection when surveyed. Another question the general public might ask is, why is documentation important? Most individuals who generate historical documents in their work and private lives are not aware of their documents' historical value, do not have the time to preserve their documents, do not have the space to house their documents, and do not have the knowledge nor resources to manage their collections. Why should we keep historical documents? Well, in organizations where founding members are no longer active, the written documents are the sole source of information about the purpose, intentions, and activities of the organization and the individuals behind it. Historical documents help us answer common inquiries about organizations and individuals, such as when was an organization established, when was an individual born, who were the charter members of an organization, and what position did an individual hold in the community. Some important considerations to take into account when creating an archive to maintain historical documents are the space to house the documents, the time and expertise of preserving the documents, and the staffing cost of keeping and managing a historical document. You're probably wondering, what does an archivist do with historical documents? With the support of assistants and interns, we organize, describe, and house archival materials for storage and use by patrons. One way to get these projects done and raise awareness of the importance of documenting, while also offering new career possibilities, is by training archival assistants, volunteers, interns, and work-study students. While Yesenia was the archivist for the Puerto Rican Community Archives, she trained and worked with over 30 archival assistants. I actually started as an intern at the archive many years ago, and I really enjoy the various projects I worked on. With encouragement and mentorship from Yesenia, I decided that archives was the career for me. In 2019, I graduated with a Master of Information degree with a concentration in archives and preservation from Rutgers University, New Brunswick. By climbing the ladder from intern to senior archival assistant to library associate, I'm currently the archivist for the Puerto Rican Community Archives. Some of our major projects have been uploading archival descriptions and digital collections online. You can access these materials in the links provided. I've also worked as an assistant at the Center for Puerto Rican Studies, where Yesenia received her training. Our final question is, why is documenting the Puerto Rican community important? Puerto Ricans are one of the largest and oldest Hispanic residents of New Jersey. The first wave of leadership, those movers and shakers of the 1950s and 60s, have since retired, moved away, or passed away, and much of that valuable community history has been lost. Here's an example of a rescued history. These historical records of the Puerto Rican community of Paterson, New Jersey, were literally rescued from a back porch, exposed to the elements. The Puerto Rican Community Archives hopes to serve as a model for other communities who want to create their own archive, in the same way the Center for Puerto Rican Studies provided a model for New Jersey. Puerto Ricans participate in every aspect of life, and their communities have had an impact on the state's politics, agriculture, education, and history for over 100 years. One common reply to Yesenia's initial request for historical papers from community members was that they did not have any historical records, but that they would agree to an interview. Yesenia then started a list of these individuals, and 2 years later created the first Latino oral history collection on Latino life stories. The HRIC later commissioned more oral histories for the Justice Project, Activist Voices, and the Latino Immigrant Experience in Newark. The Hispanic Reference Collection is one way to document other Hispanic communities and individuals in absence of an archive. If this technique sounds familiar, this is what Dr. Wagenheim was doing when she was recording community members of Dover, New Jersey. Our most recent major project, the digitization of the library's special collections, reflective of the African American Great Migration and the Latino immigrant experience in Newark, New Jersey, is now available online. Some collections that were uploaded to digital.npl.org include the newspaper La Tribuna, which is the oldest Spanish-language advertising medium in New Jersey, along with Dr. Hilda Hidalgo's Button Collection and other collections of personal papers and organizational records. The Puerto Rican Community Archives is a single comprehensive resource documenting the contributions of this underdocumented community of 20th century migrants. Since we officially began collecting materials in 2006, we quickly filled our storage 3 times and are currently at capacity. To date, we have over 60 historically valuable collections of personal papers and organizational records reflective of New Jersey's Puerto Rican diaspora. Besides collecting historical materials, we have trained interns and volunteers in archival practices. We began a youth archival project titled Organizing Our Community's Records, where we worked in partnership with Latino organizations throughout the state to introduce young people to the practice of preserving community historical records as they identified and organized the organization's inactive records. Another statewide initiative is the creation of the traveling exhibit titled Newark 1974, Remembering the Puerto Rican Riots, an Unexamined History. This exhibit that focused on Latino riots in New Jersey and the lack of research on the topic was originally displayed at the Newark Public Library in 2014. It received so much attention and requests for travel that as a result, Yesenia Lopez and Elizabeth Parker curated a traveling version of the exhibit. As a result of our outreach efforts, we've been interviewed by librarians interested in starting an archive of their community in Rhode Island. We've been referenced in archival publications, we've been hosted on TV interviews, and we have even presented at national conferences. For these initiatives, spearheaded under Yesenia's stewardship, the MARAC New Jersey Caucus recognized the Puerto Rican Community Archives for their innovative approach to documenting the history of the state's residents. Thank you for watching this presentation on the New Jersey Hispanic Research and Information Center at the Newark Public Library. For more information on our resources, please visit our website or send us an email. You can access our digital collections at digital.npl.org and follow us on our social media accounts.